Hello everyone, my name is Ravi and welcome back to our YouTube channel, Why Not IAM. So this is a continuation and day 2 of the IAM fundamental series. If you are new and if you are coming into the channel for the first time, please check out the first video, which is day 1, where we have tried to cover a couple of IAM fundamentals including CIA, confidentiality, integrity and availability. In this particular topic, we'll be talking about Active Directory, we'll be talking about LDAP, Federation, and some of the use cases that has been shared as a part of the live session. This is a recording of a live session. We do live session twice every weekend from 8:30 PM IST to 9:30, 10 o'clock. If you want, please join the IAM community WhatsApp channel and you'll be getting the link every weekend. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the episode. And gradually, my aim is to make sure that you become very familiar with the entire access management tools. Some of the commonly used ones are Ping Federate, Okta. Although there are free trials available on the internet, so I'll just make sure how you can download them and then we will try to perform some of the use case. So this series is zero to hero, mainly focused on access management tool. Then we will go and try to cover some of the IG and PAM tools in the future. And if you enjoy the episode, please like, comment, and share it to all your friends so that they can learn, grow in their IAM journey. We discuss about what is overall IAM. So I'll open this question. Where do you think identities are stored?
In some database, directory,
Okay. Database, directory.
Active Directory,
Okay. Active Directory, AD. Okay. And
LDAP, LDAP. It's on
okay.
cloud. Oh,
Cloud
cloud.
directory.
Yeah,
Yes.
sure. No.
Cloud. Okay. I can, yeah, put it on the
Yeah.
chat also. Guys. Directories and AD. Yes. Yes, these are the different option, right? But again, LDAP is a different concept. So apart from LDAP, everything, all of these are the options. So from here, let's start our journey by knowing where it is actually stored. Ping directory, Azure, AWS, Oracle. Very good, Rahul. Yes, all these are the options. Now, servers, yes. Now, let's, yeah, anyone? Okay. So
SQL
let's,
DB.
yes, SQL DB, Oracle DB, all of the places, right? So from here, we'll start our journey with AD. Okay. Sorry, EC2. Yes. EC2 is again a server. Yes. You can do it. So let's start our journey with AD. Active Directory. Okay. So what is Active Directory? Before we know what is Active Directory, let's start basically with the history of Active Directory. Okay. Far back, probably at around 1999, around that time. Okay. Microsoft introduced this particular concept called Windows. In that, you had Windows NT. Okay. And again, this is for people who really love stories. So first it was 1996, 1999, around that time you had Windows NT. Okay. Then came the introduction of Active Directory, AD, which was somewhere around, again, which it had the 2000 server edition. You had Windows Server. Currently, I think, what is the current version of Windows Server? Anyone? 2019, 22? Okay. So this is where it started. Okay. Again, around somewhere around 1999 to 2000, this particular started. They started the series. And then it went on every year. Probably they started upgrading. Now we are in 2022. Okay. Windows Server 2022. This is where this is the these are all again Active Directory series that they started. Then they did a lot of enhancements. Then here only they went on to 2008, 2016, 19, like that. Different versions of servers were built. Okay, so far you guys are with me. These are the different. This is the history of where the Active Directory started. Now let's go on to understanding why. Like, why did they even start Active Directory? What is the need of the whole concept of Active Directory? The first concept of Active Directory was uh, storage, as you guys said, that storing was a major challenge, right? So where do we store all the users that are being um, that are currently being used in organization? So storage was a major problem. For that, it was solved. Now, when you store, you also need to um perform basic search. Manage users means you are creating users, you are deleting users, right? And updating all the activities that you can do. Okay. So if it's too much zoomed, guys, you can go to the screen and then zoom in, zoom out. So feel free to do that. Okay. Then these are some of the main things. And then came later on, little bit later on, came authentication. Okay. Where you were able to authenticate the users. And one of the major players where this was you were using authentication was using the LDAP. Okay, we will not go into this now. We'll go into that later. Overall, what is Active Directory? Active Directory is a and storage means directory service. Why it is called directory service? Can anyone tell me this? Like, okay, let's not go there. Can anyone give me an example of a directory service or a directory which is storing user data?
Command
In
controller.
normal word, we can say telephone directory.
Yes, telephone directories. So there also, if you simply compare the current Active Directory with the telephone directory, what does telephone directory has? Details of the user, phone number, different set of attributes. You can search, right? That was the main concept of this. That is where we call this as directory service. Directory from that directory, telephone directory, right? If you again, this is just to make simplify this whole concept. It is the same directory. Tomorrow, if you want to realize or just think what does AD does, just think about the directory. You can add users, you can delete that users are getting stored. They have different set of information. All of that is a part of this. Then you can search also, search them. You can manage them. Definitely authentication and all is not possible. But Active Directory is a directory service developed by Microsoft. This is a Microsoft tool, guys. Microsoft, right? It is included in most of the Windows Server operating system. Whatever we discussed currently, Windows Server 2000, 2000, and these are versions. If anyone is not aware of it, Windows Server 2000, 2000, these are the versions of the Windows Server that was released from 1999 till now. Okay. Primarily, what is AD doing? It is storing information about networks, users, groups, any object that an organization uses. Just think about it. Printer, yes. Computer, yes. User, yes. Machine account, yes. Human account, yes. Everything is, it is the, and that is why, if you guys have heard about this, we usually use the term as the source of truth. That is why AD is called the source of truth. Means everything you do in an organization, from authentication, authorization, IAM, sale point, anything you do, your actual user base is here only in AD. After that, it goes out, talks to application for authentication. Okay. It goes and talks to an IAM tool, any tool, right? Again, primarily for authentication, authorization, all of those purpose. Okay. Then it goes and connects with your HR database. Eventually, this is why it is called the source of truth, Active Directory. Is it clear? Any questions?
No questions.
Fine. Okay. So that was all about Active Directory. And definitely there is, we'll also try to do a setup. All of that will happen in the same session. Okay. And now once we have discussed about AD, right? I just want to go about different components of Active Directory. Okay, so let me erase this. So we know why, where, right? Now, what are the different components of AD? Components in sense technical terms, right? First is the domain services. This gives you that core functionality of creating domain or hosting your domain. For example, what is the domain name of your organization? What will it be? For example, if my company's name is Amazon, what will be the domain name? Can anyone tell me?
Amazon.
Amazon.com.
Yes, Amazon.com.
Dot com.
Okay. So any company you will see on the top, anything, right? Like google.com, facebook.com, that is the domain. And one of the component or AD's component is domain service that is actually helping you manage that domain. Okay. Moving on to LDAP. I'll not go too detail. I'll go into detail in few minutes. But LDAP is the primary component that will help you. It is basically a protocol that helps you communicate with other system. If you have a system here, and if this system wants to talk to AD, LDAP is that channel. Fine. Moving on to the next one. Sorry, I'll just erase this again. Okay. Now let's go on to the other, which is called as DC, domain controllers. So all these backend servers that is helping you perform authentication, helping you do anything around AD, basically agents. Whenever you want to authenticate, whenever you want to check your logs, whenever you want to check your permission, someone is responding from AD, right? So that is called domain controllers. Anything that is controlling your domain. Okay. So that is another component. Then you have different structures. So AD works in a tree structure. The tree means on the top you have one main OU, then underneath you have different sub OUs. Underneath you have other different groups, branches, OUs. This is called a tree structure. Okay. This could be OU1 based on department. This could be sub department under that. Again, 2, 2.1, whatever you name it. This is what is called a tree structure. Okay. And AD works in a tree structure. And to manage the functioning of an organization, they have policies also. Policy, I think policy is very straightforward. It is basically a way you control things, right? For example, if we want everyone in the organization to use a password which has 8 characters, special letter, numbers, right? This is one policy. Okay. If we want someone who is logging into their computer to not connect to internet, or some of the sites should be blocked, this is again happening through policy. So everything that you're controlling is happening through policy. And just remember, guys, who are currently working in IAM, right? Whatever, yes, group policy, and they will have group policy objects. Thank you very much, Isht. Also remember one thing, everything that is currently there in the world in IAM started from these basic concepts. So if you think about Okta, SailPoint, CyberArk, Ping, any tool that you're working, none of the tool is working by default automatically. There are servers to manage them, whether the servers are managed by your organization or that servers are managed on the cloud or anywhere, but there is a server, right? Then you will have protocols, you will have policies, rules, workflows to control all of it. Then there'll be a structure, because that is how you arrange everything. It cannot be scattered everywhere. Okay. So the more you think about these tools that I am talking about, right? These technology, try to relate that to what you are currently doing. You are connecting to eventually to AD to, or if not AD, connecting to any directory, and that directory is doing the same thing that AD does, because this is the foundation. Yes, AD was on-prem, means companies had to build servers to host them. This moved on to cloud. Okay. Then it became cloud services, AWS, GCP. Eventually, what they are doing, even there also, if you guys go and see carefully, they are hosting servers and installing the ADA agent only. Here, what we were doing, we had a block of server inside the data center or within the virtualization VMware, and we are installing the same software. Only the platform, the infrastructure moved from here to there, but the underlying server is the same. So, anyone wants to add anything here or any question, queries, doubts before we move on to LDAP? Any question? Is this clear?
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So yeah, myself
Yeah,
Heyman.
Iman. Yeah, Iman.
Uh, So without AD, this access management will not work. That means
Again, see, don't think it's a very good question, Hemant. Don't think AD as a component. What we are currently discussing is directory services, right?
yeah,
And
we can take
AD,
any directory service, not only AD, right? Just
that's what. So none of the functionality of IAM will work without a backend directory service. Now,
yeah,
can
that's
anyone
what.
tell me why? Or can you tell me, Hemant, why?
Why means see the domain structure is starting from the AD. Yeah, because without domain there is no company which we build, right? The domain structure starting from AD, then only it will expand to the other tools. So definitely AD is the backbone for all the tools.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And another thing that I'll add here is eventually the core of IAM is management of identity, right? Now, where does the origin of identity happens? Directory. So if there is no directory, there is no user, there is no if there is no user, there is no identity. If there is no identity, why do you even need a IAM tool? So that's how it is linked. So the core of everything is you go OU structure. Okay, Vishnu, I'll elaborate you the OU structure. OUs are okay. Fine, I'll cover them. So let's go a little bit more. Okay. What does OU mean? Anyone? I know a lot of you know that, but can anyone tell me what
Say organization unit.
Organizational
what
units.
does
We just
what does
dividing
OU does?
the we will divide the users or whatever the devices into different OUs so that we will apply the policies on that OU so that they will get the type of access, the type of
Thank you very much.
changes.
Absolutely.
So it's
Thank you very
basically a
much.
grouping of individuals based on their access.
Yes, OU is basically simple word organizational unit from a abbreviation perspective, but consider them as containers. Okay. So in a container, or I would say groups, okay, not group, but then this is where we call them as containers. Containers are, for example, you have 100 employees in an organization. Okay. Can I keep everyone in the same OU? No, right? You'll be confused
No.
who they are. So what I'll do is I'll create OU, again, container. Now just think of the word container. I'll create OU and I'll put IT folks here, sales folks here, recruitment, HR, finance, operations. Okay. So I'll put 20 folks in each of the category. Okay. Now, again, here also, will all the folks in IT be in same category?
No.
There'll be different teams in IT. So again, separate OU. So basically a way in which you containerize these group of people so that tomorrow if there is a application, okay, there is a set of application. Now this is one of the use case that organizations use OU. For example, there is a set of application which is only for use for these engineering folks. So you can simply give, okay, you're fine. You will simply give access of this OU to this particular application. If there are other set of application, which is required by these folks, you give them access to this. So in that you are managing again a very, I would say, a manual level in which you are managing all the accesses. And AD is also a place where you were doing access management. You are managing roles, but all of this most of the time were done manual. And tomorrow, if AD is gone, right? You're not able to manage access. You're not able to add, remove users. You're not able to give access. Everything is stopped, right? So basically, companies were putting everything under the same bucket. Again, we didn't have options that time. And this is where, again, this is how IAM is evolving. Now, tomorrow, if you go to SailPoint, what you're doing? Anyone? Can anyone tell me what do you do in SailPoint when you are managing these roles and responsibilities in the form of group? What is that term?
Detachments.
Sorry?
RBAC.
RBAC, yes.
RBAC.
What is the full form of RBAC?
Role-based access control.
Yes, thank you very much, Nischala. So, role based access control. What does this mean? If we break this down, role means these role, IT role, sales role, based access. I'm giving access to these application, app 1, app 2, app 3, and eventually making sure that access to this particular application is controlled through role. Hence, role based access control. Okay. So, you will see that is where whatever topics you are discussing, just see, you'll find everything that AD was doing in the modern IAM tools. Everything. For example, Okta. It has a universal directory. What is that? It is also a directory. Simple. Whatever AD used to do, storage, creation, deletion, it is doing now. If you look at VDS, virtual directory, Radiant Logic, again a virtual directory. If you look at tools like SailPoint, creation, deletion users, adding, removing users from a group, AD was doing that. If you look at authentication in a tool like Okta and Ping, ForgeRock and all, AD was doing that using LDAP. Authorization, it was doing. All the privilege access, service account, complex account, all of this non-human account, AD was managing them through a group. You put a password policy, strengthen the password, everything AD was doing. And that is where, this is why I'm explaining you the origin of where it all started. And from here, it basically, there were different set of roles and responsibilities that got splitted across different platforms. And hence, IAM evolved as a tool. Okay. So just curious to know how many of us here knew already about this, that core of everything was AD.
Yeah, I worked on AD 5 years.
Okay, okay. And how many of you did not knew can raise their hand just to understand what was the percentage of people who already knew about this. Sorry, who did not knew about this can raise their hand. Okay, fine. Yeah, you can raise your hand. I just want to know so that it just gives me that context, right? Like how much in detail should I be going in whenever I'm talking about any topics. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, rest every one of us knew that AD was the original source of all this IAM, right? Okay, 6 of us. Good. Thank you very much. And now moving on to LDAP. So Vishnu, OU is clear?
Oh, yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. And how many of you went yesterday and looked for CIA? And what did you learn additionally? Any new interesting thing about CIA? Did no one explode or everyone explored and everyone knew? Fine. That's okay. So, now moving on to LDAP. Okay. LDAP. What is LDAP?
Say lightweight access. Lightweight data access protocol.
Okay. And
It is a protocol which is used for communicating. Basically, if you want to add or update or delete anything in the directory, then you could use LDAP.
Okay. Very good. Thank you very much. That was IST, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just guessing by the sound. Yes. Rahul says LDAP helps us to maintain and access to directory. We can do two works at a time. What was that, Rajiv? Sorry.
LDAP is a vendor neutral protocol which helps in fetching the data of users.
Okay. Yes, Rishabh.
If we want to do simultaneously both the works at a time, we can use LDAP.
Okay.
If I want to send a mail and if I want to take print out at a time, I can do the same work.
Okay. Okay. Good. And again, thank you very much, everyone, for such really good inputs. Let's go back, okay, to the LDAP concept. Let me just refer some of my notes because I really wanted to ensure I give you some good quality of the content. So, LDAP, first thing, what is LDAP? What is LDAP? LDAP is a protocol. It is a protocol. Now, what does it do? Okay, it is a protocol that actually helps you do perform couple of things, and you all have the right answer. It helps you organize the data. It helps you build that hierarchy within the organization, the structure that I just mentioned. It makes your process effective, right? It helps you modify your data, modify, update, delete, add, remove any action, right? It does that. And again, primarily because of this, people are or tools are able to perform things like authentication, SSO. Okay. And where does this go back and talk to? Active Directory. So this is basically like a messenger for AD. If AD, anyone who wants to connect to AD, okay. You guys can see the screen, right? The where I'm drawing all of this. Fine. Okay. Okay. Cool. And just drag, move it here and there, so that if it gets lost somewhere. So Active Directory, what Active Directory will do is Active Directory will say, or a service, he'll say that, okay, I want to do a search. I have a user. I want the user to authenticate. I want the user to, or I want to look up for the user. Okay. I want to manage the user. Where will it go? Eventually, the source of truth is AD. It'll go to Active Directory. Now, how it goes to Active Directory? This is where LDAP comes into picture. Okay. So LDAP is a protocol. And again, in future also, we are going to talk about a lot of protocol, a lot of the other protocols. LDAP is one of the protocol that actually lets you fetch user information from the AD for any of these purposes, whether the application or the service wants to organize data, get the user data, modify the data. If they want to go to AD and perform all these activities, LDAP is their primary protocol that they have to use. Okay.
Ravi,
Yes.
LDAP is used only for the AD or any other directory?
LDAP is a open source protocol. So it can be used anywhere. It is a protocol, and protocol is always open source. They do not have proprietary over protocols. So tomorrow, if I tell you SAML and say that let's integrate an app with Okta, will you say that SAML is only used for Okta?
No.
Again, protocol. Any protocol are open source. It is basically a framework. You can use this framework anywhere. And the way it does is using LDAP, whether it is a virtual directory or a cloud directory or on-prem directory, Microsoft directory. I can't see anything on the whiteboard. Then you have to zoom a little bit, Rishabh, and maybe move it once. Okay, fine. So yeah, so these are the different functionalities that LDAP does, and it can be integrated with any directory. Right? It's basically a protocol. Now let's talk about. So I'll also explain you one more thing which is how it works. So these are the what part. Now let's see what happens on the back end. Okay, so when you log in as a user to any application, right, what is it that it is actually doing? If you think about this, okay, which is say for example a website, you put your username and password. Okay, name and password. Now what happens? It goes and calls the API again of the protocol, LDAP protocol. LDAP has a database and a service, right? Again, I'm not going into detail and showing you the LDAP file and all of this, but basically on a high level, this website is going to call the API of LDAP protocol. It has a database and there is service, and then you have the directory, right? And whatever functionality is going and calling, it will go request it through this API and then fetch it back and send it back to the website. So here, website is not going and directly talking to the directory. It is going through this particular protocol. Okay. Now let's talk about, I'll just keep the screen for a while. Let's talk about the use cases. Now, where do you use LDAP? The first use case, and again, this is an open question. I'll just cover few things and then I would like to hear from you guys. Like, where do you use LDAP? Okay. First is where there is an application that I'm building, okay, an app that I'm building, any web app, and I want to authenticate them. I'll use LDAP here. Okay. Any website that you're building, yes, from a modernization perspective, these web apps are now connected to your IAM tools and so on and so forth. But if an application has to connect to areas, there are IP address and all of that, but they will have to go through this LDAP protocol. Okay. And what else can this application perform? Authentication. And what are the other use cases that you have seen in your organization that uses LDAP? LDAP is a protocol. That is the first thing. Now,
LDAP.
yeah, LDAP is a protocol. Now, what you will be using could be agents, could be connectors, which is actually helping you to connect to LDAP. Okay. Or
Yeah, can
which
use
is helping you.
from right
Sorry.
that we can download and use it, right? Like in my previous project, we used to connect to that. Like when we click on it, then it will connect to the AD with the application. We connect to AD. They will
ADES.
fetch the data. Yeah.
So now, when you talk about protocol, right? Protocol works on the back end.
Yeah.
But from a front end perspective, it for you to connect, right? You have these tools like Apache is there, right? They have a
Yeah.
directory, studio, all of that. So all of this is basically helping you to connect to directory.
Correct.
And LDAP is the main protocol here. LDAP is protocol is basically what lets you make that particular thing work. That is called protocol
Yeah.
on a very layman.
Kind of a connectivity between two entities.
Yes, not always connecting them, but
Yeah.
sometimes fetching information also. You
Yeah.
can say, for example, if you like one of the common example that I give you, you have a well, okay, and you have waters, okay, in the well, and you have a bucket here. Okay, what is the way in which you can pull water from here to here? What do you use if you want to fetch the water?
We will generally use a rope and a bucket. Kind of
A rope,
thing.
bucket, and sometimes you will also use a pipe or a tap, right?
Yeah,
Connected to
correct.
this tap is called LDAP. This is called Active Directory, where you have all the users. This is the application that wants to use that water, means the user information. So LDAP is basically your tap or the connection system that is helping you fetch that water and pour it into the application so that they can use it. Okay.
Yeah, understood. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, let's go to the use cases, right, guys? Can you tell me where all you have used? So one was the application, a website. If you're building a website, you want to authenticate. Okay, you're building a website, you want to authenticate. You use LDAP, okay, to perform authentication. One of them is authentication, sometimes authorization also. What are other things that organization uses LDAP for?
For backup and sync,
Yes. How can you explain that?
we have different kinds of backup. So
Hmm?
when we do a full backup, the LDAP acts like a medium to fetch all the details from the AD to the identity. And
Yes, absolutely.
synchronization is the same thing. Incremental
Moving data, right?
synchronization, it only fetch the latest updates.
Okay. And there also you have various type of synchronization, right? You have incremental, you have daily, you have weekly, right? And yes, backup and sync is a very good example which organization uses to maintain a backup of system in case of disaster recovery. Disaster recovery means if there is a disaster, means the server is down, the application is down, you really cannot be waiting for it to come up, right? Hence, there is always a additional server that is created and kept aside, and data is getting synced. Synced means transferred. Whatever data you are storing here on this server A, there will be a server B. You can keep this server active or passive. That is up to you. And constantly, if there is a data coming into A, data goes to B also. Now, what Harish meant by this is if there is a user update that is happening here from AD, we can use the same protocol to do the update on B. And this is where you are doing a backup of data from here that is going and getting backed up here. And same time, if there is a service that it is using, it is syncing in both the sides. In case A goes down, you can use this immediately. So you encounter very less downtime. Okay. Anything, Harish, that you want to add on this one?
I'm good.
Fine. Okay. Yes. Next, how do you use it? What are the different use cases? Yes, that is a full form lightweight directory access protocol, Rajiv. What are the different use cases? Another use case is, have you guys connected to Wi-Fi in your office, anywhere?
Yes, sir.
So there also, if you see, if this is the Wi-Fi, you have a router, okay? Eventually going and connecting. This is your computer. It goes and connects to the access point, which is the Wi-Fi, finally giving you the signal. But on the back end, how does this access point know who you are? Any answer?
Through your profile.
Uh, we can say session connections.
No, you're logging in for the first time. Say session is not yet established.
I think it is using LDAP and then connecting to
When you are,
directory.
I think when the user is part of the domain, so that it will fit the,
System,
it will connect to the AD and it will the authentication.
System
Then
IP
it will
address.
connect to Wi-Fi.
Yes. Yes, what you are
IP,
saying, Eamon, is right. Yeah, Parshuram, please go ahead.
IP address of the system.
No, you are connecting to get an IP address, right? When you connect to a Wi-Fi or a router, you establish the connection and get an IP address. That is how it
Okay.
works. But
Okay.
here I'm saying you want to connect to the Wi-Fi first. How is this Wi-Fi giving you that okay connected page? What
Through desktop SSO, desktop SSO, DSSO.
desktop SSO
So
is
like
So once you enter the credentials, that will check in the LDAP and it will confirm user is active and then it
yes,
will connect.
yeah.
So
So eventually, I think Ish, Hemant, you all were right, and yes, Parshuram, you said the right thing. That there, see here also there will be a username and password form. Okay. Eventually, again, LDAP, AD. Check is happening against AD only, right? That is a true source. Now here you can replace any system you have, external third party system. Eventually that will also connect to AD directory. Now coming back to you, Rishabh, when you say desktop SSO, okay,
yes,
the primary functionality of having or achieving desktop SSO is, can you tell me, how do you achieve desktop SSO? What is that one protocol that helps you? It starts with
Sorry.
this.
Kerberos. Okay,
Yes.
Kerberos.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So now that is a different concept altogether. So here, now see again, even in Kerberos also, some way or the other, you have linkage of LDAP and all of that, right? But
Yes.
from an authentication perspective, here you're manually putting in. What my question is, what happens that this guy is getting access? What you said is one way of doing the same thing. First way is you put your username and password. Second is you don't put your username and password, and based on IP, based on Kerberos, all of that, you get access. Desktop SSO is one way to get access. But my question was how? So, how is eventually in organizations also you are using LDAP for to connect to. And again, not every organization uses. These are, I would say, 50-60% use cases where organizations rely on these network access controls for to with LDAP and AD. Then you have web servers, you have application, you have anywhere you want to connect to directory services. Everyone uses LDAP on the backend. Fine. Now let's move on to federation. Okay. So now let's move on to the topic called federation. Okay. So far, if I look at the entire architecture, let me just close this and let's discuss a little bit on that.
Ravi, before that, I have one query.
Yeah, Siva.
So why most of the people are calling LDAP only, right? Instead of AD? Why?
No, they are not calling LDAP. They are calling AD through LDAP.
No.
Okay.
In general, I am talking in general.
In general, because AD does not. So AD is again a storage, data store, right? Now, for example, let's talk. You are from access management background, right, Shiva? You have worked on
Yes.
ping and Okta. Okay. If I tell you, if you have to integrate an application, why don't you integrate the application directly? Why are you using SAML? What will be your answer? Why do you use SAML?
SAML. I
When
mean,
you're integrating
to
an
exchange the
application.
information between two organizations, right? Securely, we need SAML.
Yeah, but why do you use SAML? You can directly talk to Okta and Salesforce, right? Can you do that?
No.
So similarly, if you want to connect to AD, you cannot directly connect to AD. For that, you need a protocol. For anywhere you are connecting, right? Whenever you are trying to connect to anything, for example, you are connecting to SSH securely, trying to log into your Windows server, you are doing RDP. If you are trying to connect to any website using HTTPS, HTTP, if you are pinging a server, ICMP, everywhere you need a protocol. Protocol are the only way in which you can connect. Just think it from that perspective. Okay. So that is where to connect to AD, you need a protocol. Okay. So this is where you have LDAP. So one quick thing, again, I just forgot, but because of Shiva's conversation, I remembered. Can anyone tell me what is the port number for LDAP?
389
8, 9 and 636 for
636 for secure.
Okay. And what do you call them for secure? What do you name it?
LDAPs. Yes, I guess.
LDAPs. Yes, secure.
3, 9 and 636. This is secure. This is LDAP. And these are, again, basic interview questions, guys. Not even interview question. If you are configuring LDAP, you will see 10.3.6.5 configure. You'll configure something, right? And you'll put 389 and you'll try to connect anywhere. No one is going to tell you in an organization that what they are doing. So just by looking at the port number, you should know, okay, now they are going and connecting to the LDAP service. And this is the IP address. That is how you should know. Okay. So, and again, if you have any use cases that you want to bring in around LDAP concepts, feel free. We all will discuss as a team together. Okay. But before that, let me tell you one important thing. Make you make host. Okay. So yesterday, right, I see Shubhankar has posted something. So before that, let me And I know like a lot of folks are new. Okay. So one thing that I wanted to tell you or teach you is how to learn, which is a very basic concept, but I just want to ensure that I show you my style of learning. Okay. Like how do I learn anything? Whenever you guys open any of this link, for example, if I'm talking about LDAP, okay. So first make sure that every time, like this is what I do. See, whenever you're learning anything, primary reason you're learning is there is a problem you want to solve. Simple, right? There is a problem you want to solve and you're looking for answers. And reading everything, the whole article, whether you are a fresher or experienced, will never help you. Okay, like one by one, you're going and reading all the article. The first thing is whenever you're reading anything, just understand the high level. So here, what I will read is I'll say, okay, LDAP is a standard protocol. Fine, this is a protocol that does, forget about all of this, that does directory service and they can manage these things. Okay, think of a directory, phone book, files, printers. Fine. Then some of the examples it is giving. Organization may store information. Few things you have to read it thoroughly. An organization may store information for all the printers in AD. LDAP can enable users to do this. Now, after you have done with the Y part, go to the go to diagram immediately. First, start with the diagram. Now, what I am learning from this diagram, it is saying an application. This arrow means whenever it is going to LDAP, going means it wants to consume the service. These are the different services that LDAP provides. So application may use LDAP for user authentication or email lookup or printer. These are the services that this guy is giving. And this is the consumer of the service. So eventually, this diagram is telling me that LDAP, you can use LDAP to do all of these functionalities, different functionalities. And again, if you want to talk about secure or not, that is one thing. Now, when you go about learning any installation, so how to install AD. Okay. And you can use your way, but this is just one of my way that I do for learning anything. Okay. So here also I'll not go too detail. Okay. First I'll see where is the software. And this is eventually there is nothing like theory in IT if you are in a technical field. You have to try everything. First is install and configure. First find where is the software. It says install. So go Google AD installation setup. Google how to get it, how to install. Again, you'll go, they'll say you have to go inside the server and then run some commands like this. Okay. And then you have to go to properties and start directly from here. Don't spend time reading, understanding too much because understanding is what you get while you're doing the work. You really don't have to read everything and then understand. Do it gradually. Like after that, when you are doing the installation, then go and read. Okay, we are doing roles and features. What is roles and features? You go click and explore. What is Kerberos? Where you'll find the Kerberos? What is certificate? After that, you go, but do that setup parallelly, one by one. So yesterday, Shubhankar shared you that Samba one. Here also, don't start with the introduction where it started all this. See where is the software. Okay, by reading here only where is the software, how to install, where to install. Start from there. Package is there, predefined, provisioning. Okay, then just go down, preparing the installation. Start searching where you have the installation package. Specific package installation is here. So you go here. Okay, version is here. Build Samba from source. Installation, obtaining Samba. So like that, go and first install the setup. And same thing. And if you are reading any architecture, okay. I mean, I was anyways about to cover that later, but let's talk about that. For example, mm, let's talk about this. Okay. Mm, I don't have much broader diagram, but let's talk about this diagram only. Or let's see, Okta has a good diagram. Okta IDP initiated SSO diagram. Okay. So if this is one of the diagram, IDP initiated flow. Let's understand this, break this down. What is this? Can you guys tell me? What does these represent?
User.
User, yes.
User.
What is this?
Okta
Okta,
application.
the tool,
Okta cloud. Okta.
right? This is the gateway, right?
Mm.
Now you have the application. So high level, what I can see is this user is trying to access this. Simple. That is the first thing you'll see, right? Users, 1, 2, 3. Forget about 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. User is trying to come and access something here on the application. And that is why it is returning. Now let's break this down. First, understand what is happening here. And there could be complex architectures also, okay? But this is how you started. You have users, these are the symbol of users. So don't shy away. Eventually, as I said, you guys will become architects, leaders, seniors, and all of this, right? So this will be a day-to-day life. And the more easily you consume, start adopting this, it will be easier for you. And start looking in all of the diagram. Diagram is the best and quickest way to understand anything. So you have users trying to access this protected application. That means when you're trying to log into an application, first it goes to Okta. It does not go to application, right? And Okta creates a gateway. Through that gateway is talking to the application, not even Okta. Interesting. Now, that application is then sending the information back to whom? Gateway. And the gateway is passing that information and allowing the user to have access. This is what it means. Okay, and we will be doing similar read through of a lot of the diagrams that we have. If you guys are struggling in your work with diagrams and all this, bring it when we have the next class. We'll debug it. We'll understand it. Okay, so this is how you learn. And I really don't want to be someone who's just posting something in the group. So I wanted to ensure you guys all know how to go through the article, what to read, how to extract when you're doing lab different way, when you're designing something different way, when you're reading something different way. So that is how you quickly learn things. Okay. Thank you very much for watching this video and I hope you liked it. Please do comment down below and share your feedbacks and I'll be back with another episode in few days. Thank you.